Hello, in this presentation I'll be talking about why spiders dynamically crouch their legs on a web to sense prey, evidence from robophysical modeling. So orb-weaving spiders are functionally blind to surroundings, but they can operate in complete darkness and are really good at navigating or identifying stimuli on the web. The reason behind this is because spiders can sense vibrations on the web, so if you hold a tuning fork on the spider web, the spider will react to its vibration. Spiders can sense vibrations due to a special sensory organ called viriform organs that are primarily located around the joints in the spider. Now, the spider interprets the vibrations that travels up to these joints to interpret the surroundings. But orb-weaving spiders are usually on their webs, so they have to use their web to extend their sensory system. So if something like a fly lands on the web, they have to sense the fly vibration that travels through this couple plates towards spider system, and finally to the joints of the spider, so that the spider can interpret more information about the fly. Now, the spiders can modify the system to sense these vibrations better, sort of like the human equivalent of cupping your ears to listen to a small sound. And these include things like altering the web structure or changing the spider behavior. So here's an example of spider behaving on its web. You can see that this fly has landed right over here, and you can see that it's doing this up and down motion that we're going to call dynamic crouching. And what's interesting here is that we see that the spider is actively adjusting its posture, seemingly to identify the prey's location. And in this presentation, we want to understand how dynamic crouching from the spider can help it sense prey. The reason this hasn't been identified yet is because there's just it's just difficult to just use biological observations to study this problem. Here's two examples of prey sensing behaviors displayed by two different spiders. And you can see that there's just too many variables to measure and pay at the same time, such as different web vibration, spider vibration, the web shape, and the spider behaviors. It's hard to pinpoint what specific to look at for each trial. To address the challenge, we built a robophysical model on the ceiling of the target web spider system to take multiple simultaneous repeatable measurements of the system. We built a setup off of the ceiling to create a model spider web, the same parachute shock cords that are similar tensile properties to that of a spider web. And in the center, we have a spider robot, a four-legged spider robot that can do this basic dynamic crouching motion, and a prey robot that can oscillate back and forth. This model is very simplified, but by this way, we can hopefully identify potential points of interest to look for in real spider system. The first thing we want to do with our robophysical model is to see if spider dynamic crouching can be used in an attempt to detect prey on its web. So here's our video, and if we take a look at the spider, you can see that it's changing its posture up and down, which is typical, but the fly itself is actually not shaking that much, so it's potentially trying to see if something landed on the web. So we want to see if this behavior helps identify the presence of prey on the web in our model. So we have a spider robot that does this dynamic crouching motion with a stationary prey robot. And we compare two different scenarios with each other. One where there's no prey robot on the web and the spider is dynamically crouching, and one where there is a prey robot on the web and the spider is dynamically crouching. So before we take a look at the result, we gotta understand what the data is. Our spider robot has 8 accelerometers with 2 accelerometers on each leg, just 4. For experiments, we conducted 3 trials of the same experiment, measured the raw vibrational data only after the spider finished its oscillation. We only measured the data after the spider finishes oscillation, as when the spider robot itself is moving, the accelerometers only detect the movement that the spider is doing. And we overlap these oscillations over each other and perform a Fourier transform. So here you can see two frequencies inside this specific vibration. As you see by the small error values, this experiment produces fairly reproducible results. So back to our original question, can dynamic crouching help the spider robot detect the stationary prey robot? So if we take a look at the accelerometers here, one of the accelerometers here, you can see that without the prey robot in the black line here, you can see that there's only one peak frequency. However, in the red line here, you can see that there's two peak frequencies when there is a stationary prey robot. As a result, we can conclude that when our spider robot dynamically crouches, it can detect the presence of a prey robot by detecting that second frequency vibration. Now, if we take a look at the accelerometers, we can see that they also identify the same thing. You can see that the black, that they're all really, really similar. The black line has one peak, and then the red line has two peaks. In fact, they're so similar that there's no significant difference between them and the accelerometers, both in both scenarios. So we can conclude here that the spider robot cannot tell the direction of the prey robot just by comparing the magnitudes of vibrations on its legs. Now that we've seen the results of this experiment, we need to answer an important question. So where does this second frequency come from, and what are the two peaks of vibration on the prey robot, when the prey robot is on the web? To do this, we have to look at the vibration of the web itself. In a robophysical model, we have two high-speed cameras monitor web vibration. To extract the vibration data out of the web, we developed a code along with DOTDV8 to track and annotate each individual point on the web and extract the 3D coordinates that you see over here. We extract the Z coordinate vibration, perform a Fourier transform after the spider robot stops moving, and then we choose the magnitude of the frequency that we're interested in, and we plot that magnitude for every single point on that web. And here's more a closer look to one. Here's an example of the scenario where there is no prey robot on the web. You can see from the accelerometers, as we mentioned, there's only one peak frequency, and you can see that this is the same thing inside the web too. It also only detects that one peak frequency too. What you can also see is that as that web vibration gets closer to the center of the web, it becomes stronger given how the colors are warmer. So when there is a prey robot on the web, you can see this prey robot over here. You can see that our accelerometer detects two peak frequencies. And we'll only take a look at the slow frequency inside this color map over here. But you can see that this entire web shakes at this low frequency value, given how this entire web is a warm orange reddish color. You can see that the prey robot, strand here, the strand that has the prey robot on it, is vibrating a little bit stronger. It's a little bit white over here, but overall, this entire web shakes at the low frequency value. Now here's an example when the prey robot is on. Now let's take a look at the other frequency, the high frequency. Again, we can see our prey robot here, but you can see that the color is a little bit different. Only the strand with the prey robot, that's the one at the top here, is more white, and the strands that are close by to the spider robot in the center vibrate at that high frequency. You can see the rest over here is relatively cold colors, which indicate that the frequency magnitude is not very strong. So what does this mean? Now we're going to plot two of these frequencies together, let the color maps together, and by comparing these, we can sort of conclude that this low frequency is the spider robot's natural frequency, as it's heavy enough to shake this entire web altogether. And that this high frequency is most likely the natural frequency of the prey robot on the specific strand it is on, as it is vibrating that specific strand, and that vibration travels to sort of weakly to the rest of the web itself. In fact, we can actually see this visually too. If you see this prey robot being shaken here, you see that it's vibrating a little bit different from the rest of the web. From this observation in our model, we can see the dynamic crouching of our robot can cause that prey robot to shake also, and forcing it to vibrate at a different frequency because it is a different size and different shape at a different location. It will vibrate at a different frequency, and the spider robot, as a result, can detect this presence of the prey robot by inducing the shaking of the robot, which is sort of like what echolocation is, but with vibrations instead. Now, let's see what else the spider can identify other than prey robot presence. Here we vary the distance that the prey robot is on. We have the prey robot a little bit farther and the prey robot a little bit closer. But I want you to specifically look at the peak frequencies over here. You'll see that the spider robot frequency values are roughly the same, but the prey robot frequency over here drastically shifts. And now we perform more experiments, and these are from when we move this prey robot farther and up to when we move the prey robot closest. And you can see that as we move the prey robot closer to the web, the spider robot frequency, that's the low frequency in the blue, relatively stays the same. But you can also see that the prey robot frequency in the red here gradually rises as it goes closer to the center of the web. This means that location of the prey robot is encoded in the frequency, and makes sense because the closer that the prey robot moves to the center of the web, the shorter the length of that strand it's going to be on. And since it is shorter, think of it like when you're plucking string. The shorter the string, the higher that pitch and frequency. And this difference of the prey robot frequency can allow the spider robot to tell how far away the prey robot is located on the web. Now, I know we've only covered the times when the prey robot is not moving, but what about the times when the prey robot is moving? Well, it turns out there's not much of an actual difference compared to just a few in magnitude changes. You can still see the two frequencies here. And when the prey robot is moving weakly, something that we typically see of the prey videos, we can see the spider robot can do the same thing to identify that it can echolocate, even though the prey is moving, to identify the presence and location of the prey robot clearly. So in conclusion, our robophysical model provides quantitative evidence that dynamic crouching might be a form of echolocation to locate and identify prey by identifying that second frequency, and that changes to this prey robot frequency indicate that can differentiate location for the spider robot itself. Now, for future work, we need to make sure that this is based off of the biology. So our collaborators at the Gordis lab have identified something similar based on their analysis of the spider behaviors compared to the fly movement. They've created a generalized linear model and have been able to predict the spider state based off of the fly movement. So you can see in this blue line here, when the fly movement is quite high, this incentivizes the spider. This model predicts that the spider will be in a static posture and will not move as much. However, in the yellow line, when the prey robot is not moving that much, this predicts that the spider will enter this dynamic crouching state, and which supports our conclusion here, because that means that the spider is incentivized to echolocate, could be incentivized to echolocate that prey by dynamic crouching if that prey is not moving that much to reveal its location. In addition, we also need to verify further in these experiments that this echolocation is true. So we also need to improve our model itself. And one thing that we've been working on is trying to improve a new version of a robot, spider robot. Now we have 8 legs with even more joints, more representative of a real spider. It has also more realistic motion, and we hope that this can be used to see if the spider robot can locate the direction and identify different properties of the prey robot during dynamic vibration sensing. And with that, I'd like to thank these people for helping me with this project, and thank you.